Hey everyone, hold on for 1 second. Okay, very sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's the only time I can get on this Friday to probably do this. Today being Friday, August 9th, 2013. 10 days away from my mom going back to work. 3 days away from my 9-year-old nephew going back to school. And we're on the second day of my 6-year-old, soon to be 6-year-old nephew this Sunday, being in his second day of first grade. And 3 weeks away from my 18-year-old nephew starting college, and me and my niece probably having to wait down the line till the following semester. But anyway, you can see right there, a couple of fans talked about the Sally character, if you will. Now we all know Sally is supposed to supposedly come back at the end of this month. Basically, that's what Ian Flynn said. That basically, Ian Flynn indicated she would return in some capacity at the end of this month. How that's going to be, how it's going to happen, we don't know yet, but he said at the end of this month. Now, what these two fans are talking about, and I'll provide links to them as well. These two fans basically did, and one fan did an analysis of her character, and another fan sort of did a response to it. Now you might say, well, why would they want to analyze her character? We know what her character's like. That is true. A majority of fans would know what her character is, but you have to understand that for over 20 years, if not, let's say more along the lines of 16 to 15 years. Let's say more along the lines of that. Basically 16 to 15 years. She has gone down and up and down, as one of the most controversial characters in the comic. The reason being, according to some fans out there, she's a Mary Sue. Basically they feel that she steals the spotlight from others. Well, another portion of the fan base has come out and said she's not a Mary Sue. She doesn't steal the spotlight from others. And then of course you got that majority in the corner that's like, she's neither of those. She's not a Mary Sue. She doesn't steal the spotlight from others. And that you're only saying this, basically those that would say she is, and this is like I say, that group of fans in the corner, they look at it like, look, we agree with them saying she's not a Mary Sue, but we know the real reason why you people say she is. And that real reason in their minds is because that portion of the fan base that says she is a Mary Sue, in that portion of the fan base's eyes, I know it sounds confusing, all they're trying to do is make up excuses for the fact that Archie Comics and Sega won't go out and announce, oh, by the way, from now on, Sonic and Amy will be together as a couple. Yay! See, that's what, in that portion of the fan base's minds, the reason the other portion that calls Sally a Mary Sue is the only reason they're doing it. You know, whether that's true or not is anybody's guess. But you have tons of different groups of the fan base with their own opinions. But those are the three majority ones that I've seen and heard come about. But what does one fan look at when they see her character? How do they analyze this? Well, this fan, well, obviously they did a very lengthy analyzation. Now, wherever they start at, boy. Okay, this is where they start. Actually, they kind of start with a little sentence at the beginning, but I'm going to skip that sentence and focus more on what they have to say. Hey, when it comes to analyzing the character. Now this is what this individual says. They posted this, I believe, if I can get to it. When did they post this? Back on July 27th, 2 days after my birthday. My 34th birthday, by the way. But anyway, here's what they have to say. Hold on. Okay, I had to make sure that wasn't my sister's car because my mom wrote my sister Modesto. Anyway, here's what this person has to say, and I quote, "Since her inception in the early 90s, she has been both loved and hated by Sonic fans. And now Ian Flynn, head writer of the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog series, is giving her a redesign. Her status as bass speaker has just received more fuel. However, when you look and read the hate she gets, a lot of her hate seems trivial." And he quotes some of the reasons for the hatred. 1, quote, "Why is she naked?" Quote, "She's a B-I-C-T-H." Quote, "She's ugly." Quote, "She's a slut." Really, guys? Well, most of her complaints are immature and lack any bias or basis. I have to ask, do they come from nowhere? I would say no, but after watching all of Sad AM and read most of the Archie Sonic, or the Archie comic, I have to say, well, nothing about her was hateful. I always had this off-putting feeling about her whenever she was on screen. While her most common complaints are juvenile, I think the people are noticing a problem with her, but choose to pick on her appearance or other aspects. However, after analyzing her character for a while, I think I might have discovered why Sally Acorn gets so much hate. However, before we go into that, let's take a look at her character. Princess Sally Acorn has been part of the Sonic franchise since her inception in the Archie comic series. In her youth, she was trained in martial arts, technology, and strategy to be a great princess and leader. After Robotnik Prime, took over her land and banished her father to the Zone of Silence, aka the Void, she became leader of the Freedom Fighters to defeat Robotnik. As leader, she's the most mature and calm of the cast, placing her into the voice of reason, or only sane man position. Personally, she is said to put a huge amount of pressure on herself to make the best decision whenever possible. She is shown to have talents in strategizing, martial arts, and being well versed in technology. Third most behind Tails and Rotor. Over the course of the story, she has had several love interests and romances, such as Jeffrey St. John, Antoine Decoud, Monkey Kong, Knuckles the Echidna, yep, him, and the Blue Blur himself. She is known to be on good terms with the rest of the Freedom Fighters, but can be emotionally open and vulnerable, with Sonic sometimes being immature and selfish around him. But can be emotionally open and vulnerable with Sonic, sometimes being immature and selfish around him. Because of all these traits, and also not being a damsel in distress, she has been nicknamed the Tomboy Princess. So after that, you see why she's hated, right? Yeah, I need to explain, huh? Okay, in order to explain why this profile leads to her being hatred, I need to explain and somewhat refute the most mature complaint that is launched at Sally, her being a Mary Sue. Now, I don't like this term in the first place because due to overuse and lack of consistent context, the term barely has any definition anymore. Heck, even TV Tropes, who has the best definition, rambles on about what the term means. However, to sum up the definition of what a Mary Sue is a character who breaks the audience's suspension of disbelief that they can exist in a narrative's universe by being treated differently than the other cast members. Does this term apply to Sally Acorn? Well, mostly no. Why? Well, one of the complaints of Mary Sue's is that the story will revolve around them and make it seem that they are the most important in the universe for shallow reasons. While Sally also gets this complaint, she actually has the reverse problem. She is whatever the story needs. Most controversial stories usually try to have characters, events, and morale woven into the growing narrative. However, many writers usually tend to focus on one over other elements. As Ian Flynn and many of the writers over Sally tend to be more event-focused. Now, this isn't a bad thing in general, but Sally's problem arises with how the events are written. Okay, where was I? All right. In Sat A.M. and Archie, the writers will create a certain event, shenanigans will occur, and if they are non-action based, Sally will come in and solve it, usually without hassle, such as the fight between Eliza's and Amadeus, her brother and Tail's father. While in general, this is lazy writing, as having one character come in to solve the conflict, this technique causes two problems for Sally's character profile. First, she is rarely challenged as a character, usually setting up a character to have conflicts that match the weaknesses usually helps them grow as characters and have them be more accessible to the writer, like Sonic having to deal with water to save others, or Knuckles dealing with his narrative, or not narrative, or Knuckles dealing with his naiveness, or naiveness, or whatever they spelled. Sally, however, is never challenged on her weakness. And this makes her come off like she's supposed to have weakness. So this means she's a Mary Sue? No. Why? Because stories with Mary Sue have the plot show how the character is the greatest thing ever. Sally, however, actually is there to make the story look good. When she solves a conflict, what is it? It's not because she is the chosen one, or because her unique talents. It's because the story needs someone to resolve the problem quickly. And they have Sally do it. And Sat A.M. needs someone to program a building to explode. Let's not draw a rotor. And let Sally do it. And Archie needs someone to talk to a bird. Oh, Sally can talk to birds fluently, even though all of them are talking animals. Eliza and Amadeus are about to fight to the death. Sally can come in, use mean look, and have them drinking tea with no consequences. This is why her abilities list is so strange in comparison to Sonic, Tails, or even Amy. Her abilities are what the story requires to complete. What is the second problem? Since her character is defined by what the story needs, this leads her into being, well, boring. To prove this, let's take a look at her ability list from Sonic Wicca, which has the long one, I might add. Sally has the abilities of hacking, acrobat skills, diplomatic experience, leadership skills, martial arts, and so on and so on and so on. What happened? I didn't fall asleep. My point is, in a world where a girl can fly by using her ears, this list is underwhelming, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Her personality shows this off a lot more. A character's personality is regularly defined by what characteristics and behaviors they display, but also can be helped by actions they take outside of what the plot needs to complete. Rude, for example, is greed and manipulative or manipulative. Outside of Shadow, she shows no loyalty to anyone and will betray anyone to achieve her goal, which is usually getting a jewel. While it seems like she's a horrible person, this is a clear personality. Since Sally is written to only be the voice of reason, the writers end up trapping into this category without any room to be wrong or even quirky, leaving her coming off emotionalist a lot of the time. This is also why her relationship list is longer than the other characters. The writers can only get an emotion out of her when she's bouncing off another character, namely Sonic. However, this would still not be a good argument for her being a Mary Sue. While many Mary Sues tend to be the only sane person, they are usually shown to be more emotional and more interesting than the other cast members. Sally is just the voice of reason. She has no personality quirks or traits that make her stand out from her cast. Even if you think her character is more exaggerated than this, there is a bigger problem. So if I've been spending, the person that posted this on July 27th, so if I've been spending so much time disproving that Sally is not a Mary Sue, why did I bring it up in the first place? Remember, the main reason characters are marked as Mary Sues is because they are written vastly different in comparison to the rest of the cast, usually by their character profile or how they contribute to the story. Have you noticed I have been comparing Sally only to Sonic characters? Sally's biggest problem is her character being written is vastly different in terms of the rest of the cast. While it is true that characters in a story should differ from one another, they should not differ on the fundamentals of the profiles. They should not... Okay. All of the characters from the games are two-dimensional archetypes that have easy-to-read personalities, generic abilities that usually tie into the characters, and cartoony or cliched weaknesses. Even if you want to argue Sally has a personality, abilities, weakness, they are not written or executed in the same manner as others. Are these characters perfectly written? No. All of these characters could use more pathos and depth in their characters. But Sally is actually worse, as she doesn't have these traits, or she does, and they are poorly used. But you're comparing her to Sega characters. You should compare her to Archie characters. He's quoting what people would say to him. Here's the thing. I was originally going to compare her to Archie characters, except I ran into a problem. Most of them fall into this category. Well, some of them can be like the Sega cast, Mina and Nicole, although the latter still is a bit too overpowered. The rest either are woefully underdeveloped, Bunny, Rhoda, to name a few, or they are written just as generically as her, Monkey Kong, Jeffrey St. John. While some of the cast also is written like this, it does not excuse Sally, because John and Monkey Kong are side characters who are brought in when the story needs them, while Sally is a leading character who usually is interacting with archetypal characters. Having a character be so different from the rest of the cast they interact with without being justified is a problem, as it brings up the question of, quote, why is the character so different in the back of the audience's mind? And there is no real answer. She might have weaknesses, but they're not criticized or challenged like the other weaknesses. She might have abilities, but they are not active or tied in with her character like the others. She could even be considered to have a personality, but it's not archetyped or displayed in the same way as others. She's not too perfect to exist. She's not too perfect to exist. She's too uneven to exist. But before Sally fans start insulting me in the comments, I would like to say, I'm not the only person who notices this. Ian Flynn did as well. The whole point of Sally and the rest of the Saturday AM cast getting redesigned is to make them more consistent with Sega cast and to calm down the hate she gets. While her design is different from the Sega cast, this won't solve anything because it doesn't have anything to do with her character. While people complain about her design, if that was the actual problem, her hate would have not lasted for 20 years, or in reality, 15 to 16 years. Just because they complain about something doesn't mean that it's what bothers them. In this case, it's because they probably didn't know how to voice their opinions about her, as we tend to encourage analysis and critique of movies and stories, not characters. Now, am I trying to defend the slut shaming or shamming or the slut? Now, am I trying to defend the slut shaming? No, slut shaming and name calling is immature and is not tolerable in any setting. But am I trolling Sally fans? No, I'm saying this because I want these problems to be fixed with her character. She needs to be a consistent level with the rest of the cast, and she needs to be able to have a character that can consist without plot requirement, make her interesting on her. Because going around saying that she's perfectly written is not helping anyone, including Sally. However, I don't think these are going to be fixed. Why? Next time, Archie's Sonic series analysis. Yeah, they did analysis on the series, and if you want to read up on that, that's totally your opinion. But I get where this person's coming from. I mean, yeah, you know, they have a right to say that she has no personality or character. Well, I do think she has a personality. She has a personality. It's just that when you place someone like the Sally character in the role of leader, they can't show much of a personality. They really can't. You take a look at Saturday AM, she does show she has personality. She shows that she has personality. She can be funny. She can be funny. She can do this. She can do that. She has that personality. She has abilities and attributes. And I agree, they're not shown as much as they should. But you got to realize what Ian Flynn and probably some writers before him have been trying to do. They've been trying to do something along the lines of, hey, she's not the focus. Here's the focus on other characters. I mean, why do you think, when we first met Bunny's uncle, why do you think her and Sonic were the main focus of that two-part story arc? To show that there were other characters that were important. Now, this person does one just as long, and And basically, I'll provide a link down below for you guys to read that. But again, you know, I totally understand where this one person's coming from. And yeah, it's obvious that the redesigns, when you take a look at them, are to kind of change up the characters, make them more based in the Sega Sonic style, and kind of define them as having personality. But to me, honestly, she does have personality, she does have abilities. But the thing is, when you place a character like her in leadership role, it's like, yeah, you could show those off, but you can't show them as much. You want some good examples? Take a look at the 50 issues, the issue 50s in the early portion after Endgame. Take a look a little bit at 122 and a few others. Well, not 122, 222 and a few others. Take a look at some of those, and you'll kind of get an idea of exactly the fact that she does show her personality, she does show abilities. Take a look at Sonic and Sally from the SatAM Season 1. She does show she has personality. She does show she has ability. Heck, Blast to the Past is a good example. Blast to the Past is a good example because she basically, let's see, she says something along the lines of, okay, like when Sonic, you know, jumps off the cliff, jumps off the island to escape these stone dogs or these stone griffins that are chasing him. As they're following, she's like, oh, why didn't I think of this? You know, and then when Dulcie saves them, and Dulcie says, hey, you guys are right, she sarcastically says, yeah, well, thanks for saving our life, and gives Dulcie a dirty look. If that doesn't show personality and ability, I don't know what does. Heck, even when she solves the riddle and they get the time stones, she tells Sonic, when Sonic's asked, you know, synchronizing of what? She says thinking, then in a very personality way, she says just thinking will be a first. That is personality. She can be funny too. She even does the witch voice in the Sonic at the end of the Sonic and Sally episode. I mean, come on. How much more do you need? She does have personality, she does have abilities, they're just not shown as much as people would hope they'd be shown. And I agree, they need to be shown. Again though, they're not shown as much as they need to be. But I guarantee maybe with them being redesigned and everything and coming back, maybe that's going to change. You know, maybe she's going to, she'll still be Sally. Ian Flynn basically said, Sally will be Sally, Bunny will be Bunny, Antoine will be Antoine, Rhoda will be Rhoda. Maybe she'll have a bit of more personality as to say, you know what, we got to kind of have that Sonic attitude. You know, Robotnik's always going to expect us to be serious. We need to be like Sonic a little bit. We need to be cool. We need to be like, hey, can you throw something better at us? Like, man, well, come on, we know we're going to beat this stuff. And if you don't believe me about personality and fun, how about the fact that they did the fact that she and Nicole and Sonic were dancing together? Come on. She even danced a little bit, I think, what was it? Issue 73. The point is, she does have personality and ability. And that's all I'm going to say on it. So, comment below, let me know what you guys think. I'll provide a link to this guy's article, and I'll talk to you all later.